Hello, guys! How are you? Gente, esse é um quadro que eu quero ter aqui no meu canal do YouTube. Na verdade, não é exatamente um quadro, é um podcast, ok? Mas como essa é a primeira edição, eu vou explicar para vocês qual que é a minha ideia. Para quem não me conhece antes, eu sou Luanne Oliveira, sou professora de inglês há 12 anos, tenho meu Instagram, Let's Talk by Luanne, segue lá, TikTok também, Let's Talk by Luanne. E aqui no YouTube eu quero fazer o quê? Quero fazer uma espécie de videocast, um podcast. Só que, gente, eu ainda não sou uma professora famosa, ainda não tenho toda a estrutura. Então, esse quadro vai ser Luanne on the Couch. Ok? Quando a gente não tiver nenhum convidado, quando tivermos os convidados, eu ficarei no sofá, eles ficarão online. Ou quando a galera puder vir pra cá também, a gente faz todo mundo junto aqui on my couch. E aí, o que acontece? Esse português, nossa senhora, esse podcast vai ser em inglês, ok? Porque principalmente a ideia é que as minhas alunas possam treinar um listening aí durante a semana, que elas tenham mais uma fonte de estudo durante a semana. Mas se você não é minha aluna ou meu aluno, seja muito bem-vinda. E hoje, para inaugurar o nosso podcast, porque quando eu estiver sozinha, eu quero contar algumas histórias sobre mim, ok? Porque eu sempre conto algumas histórias na aula para as alunas e as alunas sempre gostam de ouvir. Então, vamos aqui à primeira história, que a primeira história será o quê? Como eu aprendi inglês, ok? Então, vou contar um pouquinho sobre mim, quando eu comecei a fazer inglês, como que foi lá atrás, lá nos anos 2000, como eu me tornei professora também, tá? Vai ter a ser até este ponto. Então, are you ready to listen something in English? So let's start. Well, first of all, if you don't know me, I'm Luanne Oliveira. I'm an English teacher. I'm 32 years old, and this is my YouTube channel. Maybe this one day will go to audio platforms. I don't know yet because, to be honest, I don't know how to upload these to to Spotify. But welcome to Luanne on the couch, or on the couch with Luanne. I'm still not sure about the name. But today I want to tell you my story with English, okay? English, it came to my life through my dad. I was 12 years old. My father, just for you to understand a little bit, my father, we were very poor, very, very poor. My whole family is from Pernambuco, from the countryside of Pernambuco. We lived in a city called Limoeiro. But I was born here in São Paulo. Then we went back to Recife, to Jaboatão dos Guararapes. My sister was born, my middle sister, and then after a few years we came back to São Paulo. And in 1999, my father started his own business. He opened a catering service. His catering service is French crepe. That is very good, by the way. If you want to know, this is their Instagram, Crepe Silvio. And after some years, like in 1999, he started, and by the year 2001, he started having a little more money. And when he got some money, he decided to invest in my education. I remember the day that there was one day, I was 10 years old. I studied in a public school. And then one day, my father, out of the blue, because my father, he's like this. He's talking about something, and then suddenly he changes the subject. And I remember he like this. Your school never sends homework, and I want you to do homework because you need to study. So next year, you're gonna study at a private school. And I was like, okay. And then I started studying at a private school. I was 11 or 12. Now I'm not sure. I think I started with 11. Oh my God, I think I started with 11. I was 11 years old. And then the first year I just studied at the school. And the second year, when I was 12, my father said, look, I want you to study English. You're going to study English. And I said, no, because I already did a lot of things at school. I played volleyball for the school team. I was part of the theater club, the acting club. I was at the dance club. I did swimming classes. So I had a lot of tasks during the week. But he said, no, English is very important for you and I want you to study. And I was like, no, why don't you study? And I remember, I never forget the sentence that my father told me. He said, all the money that I have right now is to invest on you. You are my investment. I'm already old. And I'm very thankful, and that hit me very hard, because my family, we didn't have these opportunities to study or to have English classes. We barely spoke Portuguese. I was the first to study at a nice school in São Paulo. But then I had no option, and I remember that my friend Ronaldo, because that time, people, in the year 2000, 2001 too, we didn't have Google, we didn't have YouTubers, advertisement. So for you to find an English school, you had to search on the yellow pages or check on magazines, newspapers. But I remember my friend Ronaldo from the school, he was studying at Cultura Inglesa. And he was one of my best friends. And I told my dad, look, Ronaldo is studying at Cultura Inglesa. It's an English school. And my dad said, is it good? I said, I don't know. But then since my father saw that my friend was studying there, he said, okay, so you're going to this school. He called, he scheduled an appointment. And then this is a very, very interesting story of mine, in a very interesting point in my story, because the only English I had was like on 5th grade and on 6th grade, because I was at the school. There were English classes, but not a course. And then when you go to an English school, the first thing that you do is a leveling test. They need to do a leveling test to check what you know, what you don't know, which level you're going to. And I studied at Cultura Inglesa, Pinheiros, and it was a very big school, very nice, very beautiful, very different from what I was used to. And they didn't get me to a closed room. There was a library at the school center. And I remember the teacher greeted us, my mother and I. My mother went with me. And I sat on a table with her. And my mother was very close, so my mother could hear everything. And the teacher started the leveling test. And the first question she did to me was, how are you? How are you? And I was like, then she asked it again, how are you? And again, I was like, people, I had no idea what how are you was. I didn't know anything in English. I barely knew verb to be. I remember that my teachers commented something during classes, but I had no experience. I had never spoken English with anyone. Okay, so I went to the written test. There was a written test as well. And I remember the only question I got right was the question about the days of the week, because I had a watch. I had a nice watch, and on this watch there were the days of the week, the abbreviation of the days of the week in English. And I just got right because there were Tuesday, Thursday, and then I got right. It was like only one. So consequently, I was placed at basic level. But there was another detail because things in my life, they are never linear. They are never the way it is supposed to be. Because since remember I said that I had many activities at school, volleyball, dance, acting, the drama club. So I couldn't study in the afternoon, and I was 12. I was 12 years old. I couldn't study in the afternoon. So the only other available time was at 6:30 p.m. 6:30 p.m. So I went to the first day of classes, my first day, because the group had already started. And I entered the class and never forget that feeling. I had never been inside a class outside school, and there were only adults. I really can't believe the school did that, but there were only adults at my class, or like older teenagers like 17, 18, and then there was me, 12-year-old, and I had no idea what was going on. The classes, it wasn't the first class. The teacher was speaking only in English, and she asked me, "Do you know the alphabet?" And I was, no, in Portuguese. No, that time I was very shy. I was very shy. So she had to stop the class, review um, the alphabet. I even remember because Cultura Inglesa was a very top school. And in the year 2000, they had like slideshows on the class, like computers already. In the year 2000, 2002, that was the year that I started studying English. So that was it for my first moment. And it's funny because nowadays we have so many tools to study in English. We have YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. You can Google anything. You can watch videos from different teachers. In my time in 2002, computer, internet, it was something very new to people. We didn't have this habit, um, not habit, because not many people had computers at home. I didn't have a computer at home. So I remember I used to arrive earlier to use the computers from Cultura Inglesa. I had a blog, blogspot. Um, so I didn't have much, how can I say that? I didn't have the opportunities that my friends, that my colleagues at the school had, because I had many friends there that they could travel abroad. They had parents that spoke in English. They had access to, I had cable TV, so that was a plus. But I couldn't have many resources to practice English outside of the class. And that sentence from my father that I told you at the beginning, that I was his investment, it stuck on me. Even though I really tried to stop English for a while, I remember I asked my dad for me to stop. I said it was very difficult. I used to say, "Dad, I don't want to go. I feel a lot of headache. Please let me stop." And my dad, "No, no, no, you're going to continue." So after 2 years of this, I remember the first time that I noticed that I was learning English was when I went to the cinema and we were watching a movie, because in the year 2000 there weren't many movies with the voiceover in Portuguese, so everything was in English. And I remember that I was watching the scene, and the thing that the character said, it was different from the subtitle. So I was like, it's different. I understood what they said, and it's different from the sentence. And I am a very bad person, let me tell you. I'm very annoying, because everything that I learn or that I see, I need to comment with someone. So I remember I was like, não tava legenda igual. Não tava igual que ele disse. I understood what he said, and it wasn't that. And by that time I was already 14 years old. So when I realized that I was learning, it was working, I started to dedicate myself more. Because as you can see, I'm very talkative. I love to talk, I love to tell stories, and I was very participative in the classes. Uh, I have never been the best student. You are not gonna look at me and you're gonna say, this is the best one in class, or this one is the best teacher. I always prove myself through my commitment to things. And I decided that 1 hour and 40 minutes, Mondays and Wednesdays, that was my time to speak in English. That was my opportunity, and I was going to make good use of it. So I always spoke in English in the class. I When the teachers asked at the beginning of the class, "Oh, how are you? How was your weekend?" And I would spend like 5 minutes talking about my weekend in English. So it was a very good time. I'm very proud of myself because I learned at the moment that we didn't have internet, we didn't have Google. I had to search the words on the dictionary. I had to make notes on my notebook. Uh, and even when I got my FCE, for you that doesn't know, there are many proficiency certificates. And the one that my school did was the Cambridge certificate because it's British and cultura inglesa is British. And there was a moment that we had to do this FCE, and I spent 1 year studying for this test because it's really hard. And I was very afraid to don't get approved because, as I said, my friends, they studied abroad, they traveled, they did exchange programs, and here I was in Brazil studying English for something that I wouldn't even know what was gonna happen. And I remember, I never forget that my friend, she had just arrived from Canada. She spent a year in Canada, and she did the test with me. And later we got the result and I passed. I was approved with a very good grade. I brag about it all the time, but she didn't get approved. She failed the test. And that's why I say when you go abroad, that's no guarantee that you're going to learn English. You travel abroad, there's no guarantee that you're gonna be good at it or that you can also teach to other people, because people go like, hey, I want teachers that have traveled abroad. Okay, do you know if the person has like good teaching skills? Do you know if this person really study on how to pass the information to other people? Okay. So I think when I started feeling that I was fluent, I think it was after this test, this FCE test, because after that I had like proof from a British university that I can speak in English, because especially because my highest grade was the oral part, the oral test, because they evaluate you in four aspects: oral, reading, grammar, use of English, and writing and listening. So five skills. Okay, and my highest grade was the oral part. It was a conversation. So when I had this proof, this statement, Luanne Oliveira knows how to speak English. This for me was the moment that I felt okay, it's worth it. And then I continued studying because cultura inglesa, there are many levels. That is like it starts in basic 1 and goes up to CPE 3. And I really wanted to try CPE 3, the test, because after FCE there is CAE and the last one is CPE. And I really wanted to do that. I was dedicating myself, but when I was around 18, my family had a very big money problem. It was a very hard issue in my family, and I felt bad that I was still studying English, that I didn't work, I didn't have a job. So I decided that I was going to be an English teacher because I love to teach, I love English, and I was already studying the university. I graduated in physical education, But I also had, I did licenciatura. If you don't know what it is, licenciatura is to teach. So I had psychology class, I had didática, I had what other classes? Fundamentos da educação. So I was kind of prepared to teach for people, you know. Of course, in the university, the focus was sports, physical activities, but I studied Piaget, Gotsky, and all these authors on my psychology class, my Fundamentos da Educação. So I am apt, I am able to teach for people, okay? So guys, another day I tell the rest of the story on how I became an English teacher, how was my first job, how was my first school. But for now, I want to thank you all. I hope you understood. I'm gonna speak in Portuguese right now, okay? Gente, espero que vocês tenham entendido. Me contem aqui nos comentários o quanto vocês conseguiram entender da minha história. Se ficou alguma dúvida, também comenta, mas comentem, tá bom? Pra interagir comigo. E eu sei que a iluminação não tá boa, eu sei que eu tô com o microfone do fone de ouvido, mas tudo tem um começo e eu quero muito que vocês gravem esse momento, que é o começo, é o primeiro passo. E quem sabe o que pode acontecer. E eu só quero agradecer o apoio de todas minhas alunas, meus alunos, por assistirem. E that's it. Bye, bye!